Okay, so we've got two great highlights today, Ashley Rowland and Brittaney Lunsford. I'm going to begin with Ashley, and then Ashley's going to highlight Brittaney, and then we'll get right into the IPAs. And this one is going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to preface it this way. You know, this business finds us all moving through life, and we're not really prepared for it. Like, we didn't go to school for it. We didn't. Most of the time somebody's called us or we saw a post, like we weren't even planning for it. But on the flip side, more than likely we were praying or wishing more finances or better health into our life, and boom, it shows up. And but we don't realize it. Like, we don't realize, they don't realize it's an answer to what they need to fix things. So we all begin our journey. And the highlight I'm going to pull out of Ashley this morning, because she's kind of mastered this piece of it. She did it for us, and then she has now been able to teach it to other people. And that is, when you start your journey here, establishing your why. So that being said, Ashley, I'm going to turn it to you and let you walk through the importance of that to get to the promised land.
Well, I'm excited to be here. So, I think the why to me is your most important part. It's the foundation of your business. And I say Todd taught us this. Todd did this. We live this. And so what we talk about and teach here and pull out of our business partners, we've lived it. And our start here, Todd loved what he did. I loved what I did, but it wasn't giving us our dream life. And so our start was just an extra $500, because that really changed our lives. I mean, when you live less than paycheck to paycheck and you've done everything in life, we had a fencing company, we painted houses, we were always trading time for money, and we never got ahead. And so when this industry found us and Todd started working this business, although I was at home with the kids, although he was on the front lines, we still were together because we were aligned in what our goals were. And that was an extra $500. So if he's on the front lines, it took him extra time. So whatever his day looked like coaching, he had to take extra time now, because now he's applying it to that business to get us that extra $500 a month, right? So that was our start. And then as we started building that business, and one of our biggest aha moments is because he went back to school to get his master's, to get a pay raise in the school system. The more degrees you had got you more pay, right? And so he was tapped out once he got his master's, but we had to take a student loan out for that. And when we were able to write that loan off, it was $7,500 left, and write it in one check, it was really that aha moment, that pivotal moment in our lives, in our business, that we were actually able to pay something off for the very first time. And that's when Todd was like, I really think we can go do this. I really think, because that's when we sat down, was like, we really want some land, pay cash, build a house of our dreams that we really wanted. And so he started drawing it out. And I still, at this point, wasn't quite, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great, but that's really not going to happen. But Todd was the visionary that was able to start seeing it. Like, he was able to visualize that, drawing it out and framing it. And we framed that, wrote it very detailed. It wasn't just like, we want to buy some land, pay cash, and build a house. No, we wrote out how much land we wanted, how much we were willing to pay per acre, what kind of house we wanted, where we wanted the barn, where we wanted the pool, and what we wanted our driveway to look like. And so when we drew that out and framed it, we had to look at it every single day. So those days that he wanted to quit, because remember, we didn't know anything about this world, this industry that we were in, and building a business. He knew everything about coaching. He knew it like the back of his hand. He knew the weight room and exactly what weights he wanted. He knew the workouts and what made kids bigger, faster, and stronger. That was his world. Going out here and building a business was not. And so when he wanted to quit, because remember, he still coached and worked at the school system, when he had to go do that extra into our business to start now building our dream life, and he wanted to quit, because he did quit quite a few times, we would have had to wad that up. I'd have to open up that frame, pull out that piece of paper, wad it up, and throw it in the trash, because now we weren't going to be able to Remember, we had a fencing company. We painted, we did all the extras that you do to build in that extra stream of income, but it never got us ahead. And so that's where we just kept falling back on that why. When the day was hard and he wanted to quit, he wouldn't quit because he knew we weren't, that was our path. He truly believed it. He started visualizing it. And I always say, and I teach this as well, is that our brains don't know the difference between the past, present, and future. If you don't believe me, try it. Remember a past hurt, remember a past failure. You'll start feeling those emotions. So if your brain doesn't know the difference between the past, present, and future, what about start visualizing your future? If you really sit down and start visualizing your future, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to have that dream home because it's going to look like this. You start feeling it, then you start believing it. And Ty believed that we were going to have that house. We were going to pay cash. We were going to have exactly. And so when those days got hard and he wanted to quit, he got up the next day and he went one more day, one more day, one more day, because he quit quite a few times. But because he went one more day, that principal, that golf coach that led to the principal, that led to the fireman, that led to exploding our business. And here we are today. So finding your why and drawing it out and visualizing it is key to everything.
You're muted, Todd.
I'll add that you're going to have to edit and add to the initial thing, the initial why that you draw out, because like in the early days, we couldn't imagine making a lot of money. Like we couldn't imagine having an airplane one day or a pilot, or I didn't even understand what time freedom was. And I will tell you, one of your number one targets out here are people that make really good money, but have zero time to enjoy it. So like a why is, create, a retirement in 3, 4, 5 years instead of 30, 40, 50. And even when we so-called work here, it's not really work once you get a couple things in your head. Like if you understand that everybody's not going to join you, everybody's not positive all the time, all the meetings aren't going to go the way you want them to. Like if you just show up and hang out with people and share it with people and find the ones that respond positively, like it's actually never work here. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. The only thing hard is all these flights all over the place. That's the only thing I would say is hard, but the rest is so super easy. I mean, think about what we really do. It's opposite of what people think about our industry that don't know it. All of our paychecks are completely dependent on our ability to help the next person do better. If you suck at that, your paychecks are going to suck. That's a skill set you must improve. You got to be positive, not 99% of the time. If you want a big paycheck here, you got to be positive 100% of the time. Like you can never have a bad day. Poor Ashley, she gets the bad side of me because out here in the world, everything's always perfect. And that's just the way it's got to be, because people are not joining us for our baggage. They're joining us to get rid of theirs. Like they don't need our shit. Sorry about that, but that's but they don't. So Ashley, that being said, let's flip over and we're watching.
Todd,
yes, sir.
Todd, can I ask Ashley one question to expand on? I think will really help people. Ashley was talking about y'all wanted to make an extra $500 a month. Ashley, compare what you had to do then and the sacrifices to make $500 a month to what we can do here to make $500 a month with the retail bonuses and technology that we have today.
We had no pathway. I mean, in the coaching world, he never got a bonus. He never got to decide how much he wanted to make next year. It was a pat on the back. Good job. You get one if we won. Like our life was Friday Night Lights before Friday Night Lights existed. So we had no pathway to change our income. Like, well, I mean, to get a raise, he had to go back to school and get another degree, which required us taking out a loan to pay for that class, to go out. And it was maybe a 1% or 2% raise, or we had to go do what we knew, hard labor, go out and build some fences, right? Or go out and get the work and go build some fences to make that extra money. But again, we had to put up a whole bunch of, we had to go buy the supplies. We had to go find the customers to go build those fences, put out flyers, all those things that we had to do to go build those fences. And poor him, I was his helper building a fence. That's kind of comical, right? It's just the two of us. or I had to go wait tables, or I had to go back to work. This is the beauty of what you got your hands on. Like, this is work. Like, you come in and you do some Zooms, you find some people, you do some posts, and now you are in control of your income. We never were in control of how much money we could make. They controlled it for us. And when they control that, therefore they control what kind of car we drive, how many cars we drive, what kind of house we lived in, when we went on vacations, if we got to go on vacations, where we went, right? Because all that dictates by income. And if we could take off, and nobody realizes that a coach's most important time is the off season. The off season is way harder than in season. And so he worked harder in the off season in the summers than he did during the season. And
I was just going to say, since Ken, you're here before we move to Brittaney, like one of the things I've always said to people is stick and stay and get your pay. Like, you can't judge this business on a day-to-day. So for those that don't know the story, Ash and I have been in two companies. Partner Co is our second company. But that first company, Ken Bailey and I actually were sponsored by the same upline separately. We didn't know each other. Ken's father was a pastor and got killed in a car wreck in that time frame. And Ken went away for 5 years. That upline quit about a year after Ken went away. So 4 years later, the upline was gone. And Ken woke up one day, and Ken, you can tell the story better than I can, but Ken reached out to me and said, Todd, I'm coming back to do that business again. I want you to sponsor me. And like if I had went away or got distracted, Ken Bailey would have never entered my business, which led to, over years, hundreds of thousands of people in our organization. So Ken, you want to add anything there before we go to Brittaney?
No, just the fact that, Todd, you drove about 7 hours one way. And we sat down in a dimly lit pancake house where more drug deals go down than network marketing deals. But the fact that Todd drove 7 hours, right, to sit down with two people, sometimes that's what you have to do. And that might have seemed like a terrible meeting. He may have called Ashley. No, he wouldn't. He called Ashley and was positive. But most people would call, only one person going to do this. And look what it's led to, Todd. So sometimes that meeting you don't want to go do. I'm driving to a meeting now, 7 hours that I really didn't want to go do, but I'm going to go do it. And that's what it takes, that sacrifice, to lead to the freedom that you have now. Is it easy? No. But is it worth it? 10,000 times over. And actually, I say no, it's not easy, but really, Todd, if you compare it to anything else, we've been talking about traditional. It really is easy. When I look back now, and I think you and Ashley would agree, as you look back now, what you've done to create this financial freedom and time freedom, it's worth it 10,000 times over. And it really is easy compared to working 40 years for corporate America and then retiring on half a broke, right? It's actually pretty doggone easy.
Yeah, and I'll add this real quick, because what you were talking about, you're in control. Like, you have control if you decide to quit or not. You're not getting fired, right? Whereas Todd, being in a highly stressful job, if he didn't win, his job was on the line. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but if you're not successful, they're highly stressful in a high school coaching world. And if you're not producing and winning, you will get fired. But yet here, you don't get fired. You just quit. And what did you quit on? You quit on yourself. You quit on your family. You quit on the chance, the gift that you've been given to actually change your family's dynamics financially, not just their health, but financially. So you're changing that to where now you're allowing your kids to have options. You're allowing yourself to have options. Do you wake up every day and get to do what you want to do, not what you have to do? And this will be perfect going into with Brittaney, because Brittaney's goal is for her and Jeremy to be able to work side by side, and Jeremy not have to go back to work, right? And so how do you do that? You can't do that in the traditional world way out there. But here, you dictate what kind of life you really want, and what kind of, every day do you wake up and get to do exactly what you want to do. You get to be around people that think like you think. You get to be around people that are changing lives their life, their family's dynamics, and instead of being separated and going different ways all day, you know, and answering to somebody else and being in a force around people that don't think like you think. There's nothing wrong with that. But what about if you had options? Options in life to be able to wake up and get to do what you want to do. And that's what Brittaney, the most coachable person, I think, in 22 years, Ken and Todd. I mean, hands down, this lady is absolutely amazing. She is here and she wants this in such a big, big way. And I'm just so proud of her, but she has a big why, you know? So Brittaney, do you want to just share with us like your journey and why you're here? And
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't know we were going to do this today, so you may have to lead me a little bit. But so my why is, and it's like Todd said, it started somewhere almost at a shallow place. And the longer I've been here, the more my why has really just started to evolve. And, you know, I started focusing on what I really wanted and not what I thought I wanted. So it is my goal to make sure that, you know, Jeremy never has a boss again. He's worked his entire life. He's never been out of the country. He's never been able to travel. He's worked himself to death his entire life. And I don't want that to, I mean, I've been able to travel, and, you know, with my business, I had time freedom, not necessarily financial freedom, but, so I had that free time, but he's never had it ever. And so right now, that's my biggest why, is to make sure that he does not have to go back to work to a boss. And it's what gets me up every day, because I want him to enjoy life. We weren't put here to get by, pray we make it till we retire, and then pray we have enough till we die. Like, that's not what we're supposed to be here for. So that's my biggest why. Also, you know, I have other whys tied to my weight loss, because as you guys know, with PCOS and the pseudotumor, it's up and down. And I really have to stay consistent or I don't lose. You know, I want to fit in a wedding dress of my dreams. I want to fit in a plane seat comfortably. So, you know, I have whys on different fronts, but they keep us going. So,
but it didn't start there, right? Though it evolved, just like ours
yeah.
evolved from $500 to actually being debt free and buying some land and paying cash and building our house of our dreams. Yours has evolved, right?
Absolutely.
And never say shallow, because everybody has a starting spot.
Yeah, true. I guess I just, you know, I wanted material things, and now I realize I want the time, and I don't want to, I want to be able to take the time and not have to worry about, is there enough money? So to me, that I've kind of moved away from the material to what we can't ever get back in this world is our time and the money to spend it how we want to. So yeah. And then what else did you ask me?
No, that was perfect. And then I think one thing that, and we were talked about this a little bit earlier, is that we overthink. And so as we talk about our why, we start, our brains automatically start going to the where, to the when, and to the how, like, you know, so we stop being, we start like bundling it all together. And so we start like overthinking our whys, and we don't really dig deep and really get real, because we aren't seeing how we can make this happen and when will this happen, right? And so when we stop trying to figure that part out and we just focus on the why, what happens? You really can start digging in and start getting real with yourself. And that's what you found this morning, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So, you know, my biggest hang up that I've let my mind dictate completely, is that, you know, getting out and talking to people. I've created a mountain that's not really there. And so, making sure that you know exactly what your why is. Just like me this morning, I hit it. It gives you that confidence to step out and to say, I'm going to do this. Like Michelle says, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to get these drops into people's hands, and I'm going to do it unapologetically and with confidence, because I don't want Jeremy to ever have a boss again. And so when I'm scared, what am I going to do? I'm going to walk up and I'm still going to talk to him. When I don't want to talk on IPA, what am I going to do? I'm still going to do it. You know, it's about getting uncomfortable, and I'm learning that every day. Todd likes to say I was so negative when I started here, and I'll admit it. And I still fight that every day. be positive, be positive, be positive. So, you really have to be intentional with what you're doing with your time, being positive and focusing on your why. And that's the most I've learned here.